on, family? How is everybody doing? I know I'm going to try to get in and get out today because I know some of y'all already had your libations. So we have to get it in and get it out. Some of y'all have been running around, eating barbecue and doing all sorts of things. So you're not going to be here for the long haul because you've been doing all sorts of things you ought not do. I'm just playing. I hope you had a very good Memorial Day and all of that good stuff. And we're going to get down to the nitty and the gritty. But before we do that, I'm not going to announce the book club today because Memorial Day too, when people ain't going to be paying attention. And we probably won't have as many people as usual. So what I want to do is just do the regular stuff that we always do, fam. If you didn't get any libations today, get yours now, or your tea, or whatever you got to do, because you got to go to work and all sorts of stuff. Tomorrow is a new day. Things have to happen. So get whatever you need to get you through the show. Also, hit that like button for me while you are there. Please, please, please hit that like button for me. Go ahead and do that. Cost you absolutely nothing just to hit that like button. Just hit it. Pew, and you finish. Hit that bell if you have not. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done that. The bell gives you notifications if you do not know that. Also, go to subscribetobrown.com if you have not done that and add your name to my mailing list. I would appreciate it if you have not done that. In addition, if you want to donate, you can go to donatebrown.com. Or you can also go to patreon.com/ycarnell. All of that, your choice, all voluntarily, whatever you want to do. So let's get down to it, fam. Today we talk about Memorial Day and we talk about the meaning of the days and all of that sort of thing. And I want to tie that into something else because I want to tie all of this into kind of meaning and memory and something that we don't usually talk about on this show. This show we do data, and we normally talk about data in the terms of talking about wealth and talking about what is possible in terms of opportunity for ADOS, in terms of being locked out as opposed to locked in with legislation. But today I want to take, since it is Memorial Day, I want to come a bit off of that. I want to come outside of that for today for a little while and talk about something else that is also important, not just as important, but it's also important. We talk about the problem in terms of politics of symbolism over substance, and in terms of politics, in terms of what you're going to get in exchange for your vote. That is true. It doesn't mean that there's not a place for symbolism. It just means that we overvalue it. But there is a place for symbolism, and there is a place for, I don't know whether you want to call it myth making, right? Because I don't know if, I don't know, those of Joseph Campbell talked a lot about myth making, and that's just an aside. But we understand ourselves sometimes through the myths and the symbology of our community. And we don't really talk enough about how our real history and the legend that is supposed to come out of that history in terms of and what is supposed to grow outside of that in terms of everything, in terms of storytelling. We don't talk about that. So what are you talking about, Yvette? You're talking about storytelling and all this stuff. Well, it's about history too. And it's about the legend that comes out of that and how we tell those stories and how we understand ourselves as Americans in this country. And so even when you look about, there was this article from 2011 by Blight. You all know Blight. If you don't know what he's written right now, please go look it up. He has a mammoth of a book out right now, and we haven't read that book because it's an enormous book. But anyway, when we talk about being American, so many people try to disown that and even try to hold us accountable for using the flag. What are you doing? Who do you think you are? And so what I am trying to kind of drive home in this conversation is how American that we are and how much of that Americanness has been robbed from us. So what do I mean? Well, there's something very interesting about it all. So when you understand Memorial Day, you have to understand that we started it. And when I mean ADOS. Because that was all that was here, right? So let's just go through a few key points, and then we're going to come out of it, and we're going to bring it back around in terms of meaning and memory and what has been robbed from us. Let's go to this first part. That's from this article, this headline I just had up. By the spring of 1865, after a long siege and prolonged bombardment, the beautiful port city of Charleston, South Carolina, lay in ruin and occupied by Union troops. Among the soldiers to enter, among the first soldiers to enter and march up Meeting Street singing liberation songs was the 21st United States Colored Infantry. Their commander accepted the city's official surrender. Whites had largely abandoned the city, but thousands of blacks, mostly former slaves, had remained, and they conducted a series of commemorations to declare their sense of the meaning of the war. During the final year of the war, the Confederates had converted the city's Washington Race Course and Jockey Club into an outdoor prison. Union captives were kept in horrible conditions in the interior of the track. At least 257 died of disease and were hastily buried in a mass grave behind the grandstand. Now hold on, watch this. Keep going. After the Confederate evacuation of Charleston, black workmen went to the site, reburied the Union dead properly. Did right by you. Reburied the Union dead properly and built a high fence around the cemetery. They whitewashed the fence and built an archway over an entrance on which they inscribed the words "Martyrs of the Racecourse." Now, before we go on and talk about this, what I want you to understand is what that was, what that kind of consecration was. To rebury the dead because of their sacrifice and what that meant to us, to you, because of what that meant to a country, to rebury the dead and do that as a slave, not just as me and you who have, some food in the kitchen or whatever, as people who just come out of slavery. Imagine what that took. Now let me go on. The symbolic power of this low country planter aristocracy's bastion was not lost on free people, who then in cooperation with white missionaries and teachers staged a parade. Sound familiar? Staged a parade of 10,000 on the track. A New York Tribune correspondent witnessed the event, describing a procession of friends and mourners as South Carolina and the United States never saw before. The procession was led by 3,000 black school children carrying armloads of roses and singing the Union marching song, John Brown's Body. You know who John Brown is? John Brown's Body. Several hundred black women followed with baskets and flowers, reeds and crosses. Then came black men marching in cadence, followed by contingents of Union infantrymen. Within the cemetery enclosure, a black children's choir sang, "We'll rally around the flag." We'll rally around the flag, the Star-Spangled Banner, and spirituals before a series of black ministers read from the Bible. Always here, always doing what's right. Now let's head on to this next one. I want to just get through the quote so that everybody has the context of what we're talking about. The war was over, and Memorial Day had been founded by African Americans in a ritual of remembrance and consecration. The war, they had boldly announced, had been about the triumph of their emancipation over slaveholders' republic. They were themselves the true patriots. And so what happened next, Yvette? After the dedication, the crowd dispersed into the infield and did what many of us do on Memorial Day. Enjoyed picnics, listened to speeches, and watched soldiers drill. Among the full brigade of Union infantrymen participating were the famous 54th Massachusetts and the 34th and the 104th United States Colored Troops, who performed special double-columned march around the gravesite. what I am trying to drive home in terms of a lot of this project, what I'm trying to drive home is that our Americanness, and not only our Americanness, but how we have been disinherited from our inheritance. This is our inheritance, and we were supposed. The reason we were doing that, because we've always been decent. We always wanted the best. That's who we are. But because we understand what emancipation was supposed to mean for us and our inheritance, that's why we were rallying around the flag. Just because America has oppressed us doesn't mean that we're any less American. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get to this, but what you will find as we go through this is that we are more American than anybody else. When Blight said they were the true patriots, understand that we have always been the true patriots. That's what it means when people say African Americans or Black Americans or ADOS have fought, because ADOS is the new term. When people tell you that we have fought in every war, we don't really think about what that means. That means that we've been here that whole time. A lot of people can't say that just because their people didn't enroll. Your people weren't here. They weren't here. So you can't say that. You can't say that because they weren't here. We've been here. The patchwork of this country. This is our blanket. This is our quilt, our needle, our wealth, our sweat, our blood. That's what this is. And even when you look at this, and this is why, when you look at what happened with that, let me show you something. There's something that was very interesting. What happened is that it got whitewashed. 51 years later, the president of the Ladies Memorial Association of Charleston received an inquiry from the Daughters of the Confederacy official in New Orleans, asking if it was true that blacks had engaged in a burial, had engaged in such a burial rite in 1865. The story had apparently migrated westward in community memory. Mrs. S.C. Beckwith, leader of the association, responded tersely, "I regret that I was unable to gather any official information in answer to this." This is not just the whitewashing of history. Understand what I'm saying. This is the whitewashing. This is the whitewashing of our Americanness. It's not like it's the whitewashing of who we are. And we play into it. Despite the size and some newspaper coverage of the event, its memory was suppressed by white Charlestonians in favor of their own version of the day. From 1876 on, after white Democrats took back control of South Carolina politics and the lost cause defined public memory and race relations, the day's racecourse origin vanished. And just that easily, you make us. Just that easy, you make us not American. Well, what does not being American mean, Yvette? How is that a bad thing? Well, you made us prisoners. So when you're here this long, you're supposed to have the inheritance of being here this long. So really, we're supposed to be among the wealthiest. We've been here as long. We've worked, and we were supposed to be able to do what everybody else did. In the sense of they started barons of industry, railroads, all that kind of stuff, or workers, or New Deal. All that stuff is supposed to be our inheritance. That's what it means to be American. But instead of making us American, they decided not to do that. They decided to make us prisoners. And they decided to re-enslave us every generation. And what that re-enslavement has meant and how we have reacted to that re-enslavement, I am saying to you, has been the wrong way. We have tried to, because this country has disinherited us, we have decided that in retribution, we're going to disinherit the country. It don't work that way. If you build a house, a multi-million-dollar house somewhere, and this is even a bad analogy, but if you build that house, and somebody comes in and kicks you out of that house, you don't say, "I didn't never want that house, no way." You got to get your house. It may take a long time. You got to do what you got to do, but you got to get your house. And this is not the only time that we have been disinherited. from something that was ours, whether it be just symbolically, whether it be a contribution because we've been here the longest. But even with another example with Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. Everybody knows that speech. And so what happened, or what should happen with that speech, is that we are considered the dreamers. We are the inheritors of the person who gave the I Have a Dream speech in our fight for liberation. I don't know how other people became the dreamers. Now, I'm not saying you can't fight for whatever you want to see happen in your life or in your community. You got to build your own road, though. You have to build your own struggle, though. We're not here for the piggyback. You gotta understand, Trump's father came here in the 1900s. You know, Bernie Sanders people came here in like the 1930s and have been given our inheritance. That's why they have that. They don't have all that. They don't have like people like, oh, Bernie's a millionaire. Oh, Trump's a multi-millionaire. His daddy gave him the money. That's not, you're missing the main issue. The main issue is that his daddy shouldn't have had that money to give. He only had it to give because it was stolen from us. If you don't steal it from us, if you don't lock us in jail instead of giving our inheritance, he don't have that money. And if he don't have that money, you don't even have Trump. That's the thing you don't understand. You have us in leadership roles, being full citizens. How are the people that came after us doing better than us? Because we were locked out. That is inheritance. And when somebody locks you out of your inheritance, you don't say, I never wanted that money. No way. What kind of sense does that make to say, well, I ain't never wanted. I ain't never want to be a part of this family. No way. You're in $1 billion family. Mom and daddy are billionaires and you built the family. Like they had you out there as a little baby doing stuff to build whatever they built or whatever the product was. And then when they said, we're not going to give you your inheritance, you say, I ain't want it no way. I'm going to go build something else. You already built the thing that matters. This is the thing that matters. The thing you built right here. This is what matters. I don't know what you going to go build another country? You going to go build another America? No. You have to understand that our inheritance has been given away and people are using the thing that we built to try to do this. And then you get to sort of say that, well, I'm the dreamer. No, we are the inheritors of that dream and our dream has not been fulfilled. You don't get to just come and step in front of me and say, now I'm the dreamer, not you. I'm the dreamer. I just got here yesterday. Or I just got here last week, or I came here in the summer of 94, but I'm the dreamer now. No, my dream extends all the way from 400 years ago. You do not get to overstep me in this line, and you certainly do not use the language that was intended to be used for my liberation. No, sir, no, ma'am. And that's what has happened. Language is important, people. People are using the language and the strategy that was crafted by us for something else. I'm not saying that this is not about how I feel or whether I agree or disagree. This is about how everybody has to build their own fight with their own weapons. You can't come snatch my weapon and go to war. I need that. And you certainly don't get to do it now. And let me just show you something else. It's very interesting. I think some of you saw this yesterday. If you got the newsletter, you got the newsletter yesterday. But one of the things that immigration advocates have used to actually try to make the case that, you know, that this country is for them. One of the things that they've used is the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty says, bring your hungry and all this. And see, I'm supposed to be here. I have a right. The Statue of Liberty says I have a right to be here. And that has been their strongest symbol. How long have you seen that on TV? You watch any news show and they say, yes, yes, yes. And the funniest thing is you see a lot of it on the right and the left. It's not really a thing. Because what you see, and I'm not talking about the right wing, I'm talking about the corporate Republicans, right? I'm not talking about people who are Trump supporters. I'm talking about corporate Republicans. What you see them say is that, well, we agree with the liberals. It's going too far. Yes, because you all are in the business of hiring that cheap labor. So you see a lot of agreement across the board. But one of the things that we don't understand, we talk about the Statue of Liberty and huddled masses. We don't really understand that that's ours too. The Statue of Liberty was created to celebrate freed slaves, not immigrants. Its new museum recounts. It's us. It's ours. We have allowed people to take all of our, everything that symbolizes what it's supposed to symbolize. Like this right here, that's us. That's ours. How are you letting people come and take that and snatch that away? How is this happening? How have we allowed this to happen? Let's quote it. Lady Liberty was originally designed to celebrate the end of slavery, not the arrival of immigrants. What? You know, I want you all to understand what we're looking at. And it doesn't matter what this is the second Lady of Liberty. It's the same thing. Statues have to be changed from copper and all that stuff. But, you know, because it looked differently and all of that stuff. And then something was added to it later on. But understand what we're saying. We're saying that this is a theft. You use this so that we wouldn't you gave our inheritance and a symbol of our inheritance. Understand, you gave that to another group. You gave it during that time to mostly European immigrants. You decided to take it from us and give it to them. And you can say all day long, well, no, the meaning just changed. Meanings like that aren't supposed to change. Ain't nobody changed the meaning of these Confederate things that are around here. The meaning ain't changed. You don't get to change the meaning. The person who gave us that, or who collected monies for it, fundraised for it, and gave it to us for a specific meaning, you don't get to change that and make it yours. This is a theft. And I don't think we understand how America has been stolen from us in an intentional way to disinherit us and not give us what is our due. This has been intentional and continues to be intentional. Let's go to the next quote. The plaque with the famous Emma Lazarus poem, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddle, your masses," wasn't added until 1903. Now the statue was unveiled in 1886. This whole point about your huddle masses that everybody likes to talk about was added later. It was added later. This is not what it's about. This is our symbol. This was always supposed to be our symbol. We've let them take it. We have walked away. We have walked away from our inheritance. Read this. One of the first meanings of the statue had to do with abolition, but it's a meaning that didn't stick. Edward Berenson, a history professor at New York University, author of the book, The Statue of Liberty, A Transatlantic Story, said in an interview with the Washington Post, it did not stick. Ain't that something? Because people didn't want it to stick. The monument, which draws 4.5 million visitors a year, was first imagined by a man named Edouard de la Boulache. Good enough. In France, he was an expert on the U.S. Constitution. At the close of the American Civil War, the president of a committee that raised and dispersed funds to newly freed slaves. According to Yasmin Sabina, author of the book Enlightening the World, The Creation of the Statue of Liberty. This man was an abolitionist. I mean, he was an abolitionist. How do we not know that? He was an abolitionist. Somebody said it's la boule, but it says la boule, but it's a shay at the end of that. La boule. Okay, but it's a shay. It's just pronounced la boule though. The shay is okay. Never mind. But anyway. La Boulaye loved America, often giving speeches described by the New York Times correspondent in 1867 as feast of liberty, which moved the souls of men to their deepest depths. And he loved it even more when slavery was abolished. In June 1865, La Boulaye organized a meeting of French abolitionists at his summer home in Versailles. Berenson said. Hold on, let me go down here. They talked about the idea of creating some kind of commemorative gift that would recognize the importance of the liberation of slaves. An early model, circa 1870, shows Lady Liberty with her right arm in the position we are familiar with, raised and illuminating the world with a torch. But in her left hand, she holds broken shackles, an homage to the end of slavery. An homage to the end of slavery. Letting them steal all the symbols. Hold on one second. In the final model, Lady Liberty holds a tablet inscribed with the Roman numerals for July 4, 1776. The broken chains are still there, though, beneath her feet, but they're not that visible. How many immigrants got chains on their feet when they get here? I thought you came here voluntarily. I'm just asking. How many? How many immigrants who come here voluntarily through Ellis Island have chains on their feet? In fact, black newspapers railed against it as meaningless and hypocritical. By 1886, Reconstruction had been crushed. The Supreme Court had rolled back civil rights protections, and Jim Crow laws were tightening their grip. So what was going on? What was going on was basically black people were saying, listen, this ain't true. This ain't real. Like, this is just an empty gesture. But they knew it was about us. We don't even know that it's about us. They knew that it was supposed to represent freedom and liberty and all of that, but they were just like, but we ain't free. But then you come later with that inscription where you just change the meaning. So we don't get to have our symbol anymore. So what you did is you take us out and you put immigrants in, immigrants who at that time were mostly European, and you switch us out and you give us prison and oppression and make us eat the failure. Because see, if the Statue of Liberty represents us as ADOS and it's over there, overlooking the richest city in America, New York, if it remains there and it represents us, it becomes a condemnation of America's promise to us. With freedom and the ending of the Civil War, it becomes a condemnation. So you have to give it to somebody else. Because if you are going to design a society, which has happened, where we eat the failure and we're the bottom caste, you cannot have Lady Liberty represent us. So you have to lie. You have to find a way to lie your way out of it. That's the only way you can make that work. Other than that, if you don't do that, the Statue of Liberty becomes a condemnation on the promise of freedom and liberty that this country is supposed to stand for, especially for the citizens who are at the bottom and who were intentionally placed at the bottom for the sake of white capital. That's what happened. And see, watch this. It says on theory, because we couldn't see it because she wasn't black, probably because we couldn't even put the two together. One theory has her face being adapted from a statue Bartholdi had proposed for the Suez Canal, meaning her visage could resemble that of an Egyptian woman. The Times reported she was based on the Roman goddess Libertas, who typically wore the type of cap worn by freed Roman slaves. But again, in the Cleveland Gazette, ADOS were upset, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Nobody is denying their right to be upset. But the problem is in being upset, we forgot our history. We forgot our history. We forgot it. And we didn't just forget it, it was stolen. And I think at some point, when you see something like that, like this country is America. That's who we are. So you have to ask the question when you look at it like that, and you really understand what this country is, and you really understand what the Statue of Liberty is. You have to ask yourself, what was this lady doing? Talking about what it was supposed to stand for. What you doing climbing up on there? That ain't even yours. That ain't even what you think it is. It belongs to us. You've just stolen our symbolism to mean something that it never was intended to mean. In an effort to disinherit us. And you've largely succeeded, because those of us who are supposed to know better and say, hey, don't walk away. Don't you give away that American flag for some other flag or some other fantasy. There's no money in fantasy. There's no wealth in fantasy. There's no country in fantasy. There's no soil in fantasy. You're not going to leave and live in your fantasy. There is nothing in utopia. What you dream up in your mind. Your history in this country is your history. This is your country. Don't matter how you feel about it. Don't matter if you like it. We're not prisoners of war. We're citizens. And we need full citizenship. There is a caste system in this country that has denied us full citizenship. First we had slavery, then we have re-enslavement to keep us as a bottom caste. We are not prisoners of war, because if you're a prisoner of war, you get sent home. Ain't nobody sending me nowhere. You're not going to send me nowhere. Stop saying that stuff so people won't. So one day people will pick you up and send you something. Okay, you're a prisoner of war. Here's $10,000 and a ticket to Uganda or Nigeria or wherever. You want that? You going there? For what? That's for people who have their own family there, their own lineage, their own line. What are you going to do? You're not a prisoner of war. There was no war. They didn't nobody. You didn't fight. There was no fight between two countries, and one country just kept us over here. No, we were slaves. We were brought here and promised citizenship, and we haven't been given it. You're not gonna start a new life nowhere else. For the majority of us, the overwhelming majority of us, I wish we would just let that fantasy go. The majority of us live and die in the same state we were born into, much less like another country. You're not gonna be an expat. Let that fantasy go. And you have this idea that's going to be so much better where you expat too. Let that fantasy go. Whole lot of fantasies. Whole lot of fantasies. And the thing is, I had to check on it too, because I was like, kind of like, well, hold on. Before I go to that, before I go to while she was on that thing, running around, I had to look like, is this true with the Statue of Liberty? Let me look at that. So you go and you look at it and you find, like, this is the National Park Service. So this isn't, I'm not making it up. And you have this same kind of article. The statue in 1886, the Statue of Liberty was a symbol of democratic government and Enlightenment ideals, as well as a celebration of the Union's victory in the American Civil War and the abolition of slavery. La boule, that's what y'all said. La boule, la boule, la boule. The French political, people always say, listen, I mess up all accents. Somebody said, oh, Yvette doesn't like Hispanic people because she messed up the accent. No, I just don't do good with them. Now I sound like Pepe Le Pew. Are you happy? The French political thinker, the La Boule, the French political thinker, U.S. Constitution expert, and abolitionist who first proposed the idea of a great monument as a gift from France to the United States, was a firm supporter of President Abraham Lincoln and his fight for abolition. La Boule saw abolition not only as a way to eliminate immorality, but also as a way to protest repressive tendency in France. He thought it went hand in hand. Oppression is oppression. I don't like this and I don't like that. As an abolitionist, La Boule was an honorary member of the Philadelphia branch founded in 1862, of the Union League Club. The Union League Club was a group of people who were dedicated to the new Republican Party, the Union's cause in the Civil War, and the abolition of slavery. Additionally, Le Boulay was a co-founder and president of the French Anti-Slavery Society. This society was founded in 1865. In essence, it called upon all nations to abolish slavery. Additionally, the members also raised money that was given to newly freed slaves in the United States. Money given to newly freed slaves in the United States. Newly freed slave. Isn't that something? See what happened. See, when I talk about the wealth that was given, when I talk about the wealth that was given to the European, how that wealth, how this inheritance was transferred to European immigrants, understand it wasn't just this. Understand it wasn't just this one thing. They're still trying to do that. So what happens is, and they're trying to do this with class-based action too. So what happens is, not only did you get this symbolism or whatever, so then they made this about you. This became the inheritance of immigrants. And then the New Deal came and we got locked out, right? So we got prison and re-enslavement and subprime and red line and everything else. And they got this as their inheritance. That was supposed to be us. That was supposed to be us. And let me bring up one more quote. With the abolition of slavery and the Union's victory in 1865, Le Boulay wishes of freedom and democracy were turning into reality in the United States. In order to honor those achievements, Le Boulay proposed, that's the one, the gift. Listen, let me just say something. And here's a picture. Like, here's one of the pictures. And this is from Puck magazine in 1908. And it to convey the horrors of the African American experience after the Civil War. You have to understand what has been stolen. You have to. If you don't understand, what did I say last week? If you don't understand what has been stolen, you don't understand what is owed. If you don't understand what has been stolen, you don't understand what is owed. And if you don't understand that, then you don't understand that what she's doing don't make no sense. You don't understand what you're crying for the migrant children and everything like that. If you don't understand what the debt is, if you don't understand what is owed to us, you don't understand. You're never going to understand the debt. You're always going to say stupid stuff like, well, why can't we just, do what they did? Well, the problem is, Yvette, we ain't never really tried that hard. When I say we're more American than anyone, here's what I mean. You have to understand something. You have to understand the difference in something. You have to understand the difference. The people who passed through Ellis Island or around there and saw the Statue of Liberty are not the people who inspired the Statue of Liberty. No, you came later. We inspired the Statue of Liberty. You just saw it as you got here. We are not the same. We are not the same. And so you got to stop telling me this country was built on immigrants. This country was built on... No. These are two groups. We inspired something that you just saw in passage. This is not about you. This is not your inheritance. And I don't have any problem telling you that. And I don't know who would. It doesn't make any sense. Like when you look at that. Like That's serious business. We are more American than anybody. And the trick that they have done, the trick that they have kind of built is try to make us feel or pretend that we are not American. Honestly, if you really want to talk about it, if you really want to have the conversation about it, you really have to understand that we are really like the founders of liberty, in the sense that our struggle is the quintessential liberty struggle, the quintessential and most enduring liberty struggle in this country. Still not there, still working for it harder than anybody. We have been struggling for liberty and freedom since our ancestors arrived on these shores and intermarried and got raped, everything that happened. That is ours. Like, ours is really the freedoms, the quintessential and most enduring struggle for freedom and liberty in this country. We are the true representatives of that, of the struggle for freedom and liberty. Not anybody that fought Great Britain. No, we are that. And I don't think that we understand how much we embody what this country is supposed to stand for. I'm not talking about what it does, but what it is supposed to stand for. That is us. That's us all day. And the struggle now is to infuse that flag with meaning. Not to try to back off from the flag and pretend like that flag is supposed to mean something that it doesn't mean. And our job as Americans, and we are American, is to infuse that flag with actual meaning. And we're more American. How I don't even understand how one of the traitors of the Confederacy could even talk to me. Like, we have been fighting for liberty and freedom for 400 years. You rose up against your own country. How can you even talk about me, about morals and values? You don't have any. Your great-grandparents didn't have any. You come from a history of people with no values and no morals. How can you talk to me as a person who, as a part of a community who fights for liberty and justice and freedom? That's what everything that we have is based on. How can you stand on any kind of moral high ground to me? I'm not American because I've been cheated. You're not American because you don't share the values of what this country is supposed to mean. Not what it means, but what it is supposed to mean. You don't live up to that. You fail big time. We're more American than anybody. And honestly, if this country is ever going to live up to its creed, we have to be free. Because it's a lot of people in this country who are not worthy. Who can carry the banner of liberty and freedom better than us? Who understands justice and injustice better than us? Who understands liberty and the need for liberty better than us? Who? I ain't never seen them. I've never seen them. And I said I'm gonna finish a little bit. Let me wrap it up. I got something else to say too. And this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the Statue of Liberty, but there was a whole controversy online today that I wanted to address for just 2 seconds. If you all will humor me and bear with me for 1 second, please. I don't know what is going on with the Grapevine, or what their business is, or what they think their business is in the world, or what their project is. I know they want to get on TV real bad. That's all I know. They want a talk show. But there was a whole conversation there was something about how they were going to do a ADOS roundtable, because first they got into it about Spike Lee and called him colorist, and why has he ever dressed colorism? Do you know Spike Lee's catalog? Anyway, but they got into it about all this stuff, and they said somewhere along the line they might do some ADOS stuff. And listen, first of all, you blocked me because I talked about lipstick. Remember, lipstick was on the Grapevine. Remember, I called her purple lipstick, and she was on there talking about America. She told an ADOS woman that America is a transient country, as if it's not our country. And I told you that you don't know what you're talking about. And I told you to get somewhere and sit down. You don't get to call the country that we built a transient country. We're not a bus stop. We are a country, and we built it. We're the richest country in the world, and you are here because of the rights that we fought for. Thank you. Now have a few seats. Right? That was the whole thing that we got into it about. So you preemptively blocked me, but now you want to have an ADOS conversation. But you don't want to invite Antonio and I, and that's fine, but you shouldn't have had a conversation at all. Because you said, well, we just need people with strong opinions. No, people with strong opinions who are loud and wrong frequently are a part of the problem. And y'all are routinely loud and wrong all the time. And just full of all kinds of ego. And full of unearned ego, a whole lot of stuff about yourself. You feel some kind of way about yourself. And I don't know why you feel that way. And let me just say something else. The whole controversy was about something about black Brits and the black Brits and the black Brits. And the black Brits who come over here and act. That's what it was. That was a clip. I think it was a Spike Lee clip. And it was about the black Brits who come over here and act. I want a lot of you all who are wherever you are from in West Africa, Nigeria, wherever, and you go over there, first of all, stop being a chameleon, but stop calling yourself a black Brit. You come over here and you're Nigerian, but you go over there and you're a black Brit. You just moving around. And see, the thing is, you don't have any, y'all get mad at us, right? As ADOS. Now, ADOS, slaves didn't have any freedom over their bodies, right? And then before everybody else got made white, you had some people in America or whatever. Before everybody, these people got made white and we got bottom casted. But slaves had no control over their body. So we can say that, like, whether you talk about America as a country or whether you talk about us genetically, we can say that we're kind of mixed up here. 400 years with white people as the majority and not being able and coming from slaves, we kind of mixed up. So we can call ourselves, we're American, we kind of mixed up. But y'all don't want us to do that. But then you want to call yourself a black Brit and you just got to Britain. You all will hop off a plane from Nigeria to London and be like, I'm British now, I'm a British lady. I'm a British lady. Trying to get your accent right. I'm a Brit. It don't even know, you're still not a Brit. You still have that other accent. You got to get it right. I'm British. No, that's not the right accent. Try again. Like, you are not British. You are not British just because you went to school and you are not British. But you don't want me to be American, right? Oh my God, the blue veins, they want to be European. No, we're kind of mixed up and it's not our fault. It's not our fault. We didn't do it. Somebody else might have captured us and put us on a boat and sold us to some people. We didn't do it. It's not our fault. But we have a claim. You don't, how do you have a claim to Britain? But when you're in Britain, you're a black Brit. But when you come over here, I'm this or I'm that. I'm Nigerian or I'm Ghanaian or what is you? No, stop being a chameleon. Stop telling me I can't be whatever, but you can be everything. And we don't need no ADOS grapevine conversation. We don't need that from you. You don't know what you're talking about. Just let it alone. Do something else. Do whatever you're doing. Let lipstick do a makeup tutorial. Whatever y'all want to do. Just, you don't need to do that. We don't need you in our space. You fought no wars in Britain. You ain't got no bones buried. You don't want me to call myself American. We fought in every war. Oh, you're not American. America's a transit country. We bled for this country. Our sweat and blood is in the soil in this country. You ain't been running around fighting a bunch of British wars going back 400 years, but you want to call yourself a black Brit, but I can't call myself American. I got all kind of blood here. You better hush. You don't want this one. You don't want this battle. This is not a fight that you want. You lost me when you called us a transient country. We're not a transient country. We're America. We're not a bus stop. We're not a way station. We're a country. And we are Americans. Whether you like it or not. And I don't think I ever showed you that we care exactly what you think about or what you feel or what you think should happen. Oh, people just talk so much. Anyway, going to the phones in a few minutes. Fam, just give me a few seconds as usual to set them up and we'll be back to have a conversation. All right, fam. We are back. We are back. We are back. We are back. Going to my first call. Gonna let y'all get in. Up 310. What's going on?
What up, man? I'm sending you an image to pull up. I know it was a little late, but while I'm talking, you can pull it up. The thing that's interesting about this whole conversation, and my brother's in the service, so happy Memorial Day to those people in the service. The thing that's interesting about this whole conversation is that I don't think that we're given the space of ownership, and I don't think we understand what that means. From the Pan-Africans to the West Africans, let's just start off with the reality, the awfulness to think that David Owalu, who played Dr. King, likely, based on what he said about his tribes and everything else, family sold slaves. I'm not saying it's definitive because he should have to tell us. We're the victim. But from what he said, the tribe that he speaks to, the awfulness that his family possibly sold slaves. And if that is the case, I have no idea how you make that right. And I think for a lot of this, what's going on is we don't count, and I don't know how black people got here. Well, let me say I know how we got here, but I think it's awful that we're here now. The fact that I did a video where I talked about our sameness and uniformity with white folk, or let me say our commonalities with white folk in America, because we've been here 400 years, and in many ways we're mixed with family. We were maids living in the house. Foods are similar, versus a foreign West African group that comes over, and how we have a lot more culturally in common with them. And people came down to, I think the guy Khalid, he tried to use that, and it was just ignorance. It was pure ignorance. But you have this group of Nigerians that are 100% Nigerian that go to Britain and in one generation call themselves Black Brits, and nobody says anything. I don't, I did this article way back when African Americans are more than just Africans in America, and we started ADOS before this, but this was us really saying let's make this a concept that people can attach to. And I don't know how you guys are going to be here if you can't get this right. And when I say get it right, I'm talking about full-throatedly right. I'm not talking about when ADOS had the first scholarships possibly in American history ever to be designated for descendants of slaves last week. The Cosby scholarships, 10 seminary scholarships, $330,000 for ADOS descended people. One of the things that I noticed in the comments was the need for black folks, ADOS black folks, to find a middle ground. Well, it needs to be fair, and we got to watch out for other people. And no, these are for ADOS. And if you don't want it, move to the side, and your kids starve out. I'm saying this at a level because I know the data. I know where the data is going. We're largely a group without inheritance, without savings, without retirement, and many of y'all don't even have medical care. But you're talking like you're fully American. And you're talking like you don't understand what happens when the Statue of Liberty is stolen from you. This might be one of the greatest cultural thefts in American history. I'm going to say slavery and Jim Crow from a wealth level, and even slavery from a cultural level, much more. But the Statue of Liberty, to be recasted in the image of immigration, to recast the view of the nation from a global perspective, is one of the most awful things I've heard in a long time. And I don't know if this group really gets, funny, because I know for me, I'm single. And one of the reasons I'm single is I run into most of our women and men, but for me, women, because that's what I date. They just don't get that they need to be political all the time because it's that moment. And so when you go to talk about the basic components of wealth, they just want to be super capitalists. What's wrong with T.I. going to meet the government and get something? You just graduated from Berkeley, and that's what you said to me? He went and met Trump for opportunity zones. It's called gilding the ghetto. I can't teach you how to be black in America.
Ooh.
What's wrong with the billionaire giving money and how it's so good? There were no billionaires in the 80s because they made sure that money was spread out. See, there's two components, and I'm not going to shift the show, but there's two components that are missing here. The first is connected to the second. The first is black folks, working age black folks, don't know that working age black folks are largely wealthy. How can you be here and not know that? I don't know. You talk to most black folks, they don't know that there's no black middle class for working age black folks. I'm not guessing 2.6. We went through the data. Top 10% of our families have almost all of the 2.6. We just hear. The second connects to that. When you are wealthless, you're supposed to have disdain and maybe even hate for the wealthy. But because we don't know we're wealthless, we love wealthy people. Somebody might say, well, you talk about Byron only because he talks about economic genocide for black folks. I'm not here to talk about Byron as an individual. I don't know that man like that. I like the message that it just relays about what the most wealthy people are saying about black folks. It allows us a visual into the reality. But I'm not here for no $40 million in scholarship when, according to Bernie Sanders, billionaires, on average, are getting $33 million a day from Trump's tax cut. So you tell me how a day affects that man. One day. He can use one day to do all that stuff that he did. I'm just saying, I just kind of want bringing it back to the show. I don't want the Grapevine to cover the ADOS because they're not the right people to cover it. I know there's been recent news about Nigerians and passports. I'm not going to cover that out of respect for Nigerians. I don't know enough about Nigeria and Lagos to cover anything about what's just transitioned in terms of their immigration statuses and passports. I have that respect. I asked them, don't cover ADOS. You guys are not the platform. You guys have been awful to Native Black Americans on your platform. I sent a text telling you don't have enough information. Again, I'll say this as I end out. This is not police violence in the sense of Trayvon Martin, where you can just bring somebody in, and because they grew up in Baltimore or in South Central, they can speak to it. This is very succinct. Reparations in a black agenda. And you need high-level understandings of legality, economics, different things of the sort. Politics, like Yvette has. This whole thing where everybody gets in a room and sounds crazy about reparations only leads to more and more confusion. What Charlemagne has done, going around talking without understanding nothing he's talking about, has done nothing but undermine what we're trying to accomplish. I'll leave it at that.
Appreciate it, Tone, as always. And let me just say, I want to say a couple of things. One of the things I want to say is, it's also like I saw one of the people say, one of the Grapevine owners or whatever, what they were trying to say. I don't know how they got that set up. Was it like, well, I'm ADOS. I was born here. It's not just about, understand something. It's not just about being born here. It's also about that accrued disadvantage from, like, so it's not just like your parents got here from wherever they immigrated from. And that puts you in line with the Italians and the Irish. So yes, you're American, but it's not the same as having that accrued disadvantage that goes all the way back, given who you are and what you came here with. You can't just tell us where you were born. You got to tell us what your parents came here with. And one of the things they came here with was not being us. That is an advantage to not be us and to not have that claim that goes all the way back to slavery. And you didn't tell us that. You just told us that you were born here. You have to go very deeper with your story. You one of the things we have to do too is not let people stop with their story. Nobody's saying we're going to discriminate against anybody, but I need to know your story in order to understand your context. That's what I need to understand. We have immigrant allies here all the time, but I still understand who they are and their context. They tell me that. And they tell me how they feel and what their beliefs are and what they've heard. Everybody has a context. You got to give me your full context, though. And even in terms of like what Antonio said about wealthy people, like people be like, well, why would you hate the wealthy? He explained that, but it's also like they're hoarding it. They're hoarding. Like, it's not like, well, you had the same opportunity and they just did more. No, these people are wealth hoarders. And they're getting it because they don't have to pay the tax that gives you the opportunity to be, and they don't have to pay for the reparations. That's how they get to do it. That's hoarding all the opportunity. That's hoarding Americanness. Why do you like or adore somebody who gets to do that? And Charlemagne did look lost when he was when he was on Capitol. He looked so lost. He didn't know what he was doing, why he was there. Somebody told him, "Can you come with me?" Whatever. I'm going right now to 678. 678. What's your name? What's on your mind? Where you calling from? You there, 678?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's going on?
How's it going? Okay,
Pretty
so
good.
my name is Sid. I'm calling from Atlanta.
Okay.
And what I want to touch on is how I don't think that nearly enough emphasis is placed on the fact that I think all immigrants undermine us, and that includes the white ones. You know, like the reason why we can have a Trump and a Biden who are third generation immigrants is because the way that they're allowed to camouflage due to their white skin is like an easy path to progression. And with black immigrants and brown immigrants, it's a lot harder for them. So they kind of come in amongst us and act as one of us or act as if they're some sort of ally. And their trajectory towards leaving us behind is a bit more difficult. But I feel like when you say that we're more American than everybody, that goes for your Bidens and your Trumps. And the fact that
I agree with that.
Political office and speak. I'm sorry?
No, I said I agree with that. We're definitely more American than some people who came after us. Oh, absolutely. And we built the country too. Oh, yeah. Biden, everybody. I mean, everybody that came, white, all of that. Yeah, that's why I mentioned them. You exactly right with that part.
Sure. And the fact that they get to stand and say, oh, well, I don't think I'm responsible for what took place, generations ago, where he gets to carry that legacy, or McCain and even Meghan McCain can kind of carry that family's legacy, and she can get a job on The View, but we don't talk about how you guys own the black McCain, and then you can speak about, oh, I'm the voice of far right or conservatives, but we don't talk about what did your family contribute to the dark side of American history in regards to ADOS. So the fact that they get all these political positions and they keep us at the bottom cast and act as if they're more American than somehow the ones that built it, I feel like we don't speak on that enough. And also, I feel like a big part of how Lady Liberty was stolen from us is because of location. I feel like if Lady Liberty was smack dab in the middle of Mississippi, it'll be a lot harder than right there on Ellis Island, where a lot of those immigrants came in on ships and they saw it. That was the first emblem they saw, and they embodied it, and they say, you know what, this is ours. New York is ours. New York is like America in and of itself. I feel like New York is a lot more problematic for ADOS than we also admit to.
It's funny. Let me interrupt you, caller. I said something like that, and I don't, no shade to New Yorkers, but I said something like that in a private conversation. I said, it's difficult with New Yorkers because for New Yorkers, there really is like this whole melting pot. Everybody from everywhere. So we don't understand what you're talking about. And sometimes New Yorkers don't really understand it. Like, you live in a community that is not representative of America. Like, it is not representative of the South. It's not representative of the Midwest. It's not representative of a lot of places, of the majority of America, right? Even if you talk about the Southwest, it's different. The way they live, and I think sometimes they walk the world thinking, or walk America thinking the rest of America is like New York, and they have that in their context. And I don't know if they can, if they look at the data and see like, no, New York is a bastion of its own. It's not like America. But I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
And I agree 100%, right? So what happens is in New York, a lot of New Yorkers, that we know, because on my Instagram, I made a post saying that I think a lot of our favorite rappers are first generations or are anchor babies. Like, I'm still trying to figure out if Jay-Z might be Caribbean or if Puffy might be Haitian.
No.
Like, we don't really know. And so a lot of times, like, they're the ones that push this, shiny suit, jiggy era rap, where we were so focused on being consumers that we really, my generation really strayed away from being politically aware. And it's like, did they get here and were they on a hustle mission and just kind of had us get hustle versus politics? Did they carry a hand in that, and is it because they possibly could be first generation? So I don't know. And they don't speak on it, so, I guess it's up in the air. But, yeah, I agree that New York in and of itself is its own place because it's such a melting pot.
All right. I appreciate it, caller. Thank you. I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, it's just New York.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. I don't think people understand. New York is New York. New York is New York. And there's a lot of, like, culturally really great things going on. But New York is New York. Like, New York is not is not. It's not representative of American. I don't know how many New Yorkers say that. And of course, I think we have immigrant allies, but I don't want to misspeak. Like he said that we're more American than people who came here white. Yeah, that's why I mentioned. That's why we was talking about Bernie and the others. Like, yeah, we're more American than, it don't matter race. Like, we are quintessentially American trying to run away from America because we've been mistreated here. No. I'm going to keep it going, though, fam. I am going now to 314. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, my name is Michael. I'm from St. Louis, and I just really wanted to quickly chime in on the immigrant issue. So right now I live in St. Louis, and I took a trip about 2 weeks ago to L.A. to go to a graduation in Long Beach, California, and I was also in L.A., but while I was there, I noticed that there were a lot of immigrants, and that I had a conversation with one of my good ADOS buddies, and I was talking about how we need to look out for ourselves at this point, because what I realized when I was there was that all of the jobs that black people would be doing normally, construction workers, store clerks, anything that we would normally do, trades, were all taken up by Hispanics. And Mexicans in particular. So I went to Skid Row, like you guys always mention, and there were a lot of black homeless people in LA.
Yeah, you really are.
And the fact that that's the case in a city that used to have a lot of black people, and when I was going around talking to different individuals, they were saying all of the ADOS people are leaving LA. And that's because they can't compete. They can't get jobs. Because even if they have the skills or the college degree, they're going to hire the Mexican because there's a Mexican in charge. The politicians are now becoming immigrants. So they're competing with us for
in a lot of cases, caller. In a lot of cases, too, I heard that you have to be bilingual. And that kind of nixes that, too.
Yep, and I also wanted to mention what just happened at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas about the video that Tone just made. The fact that our entertainers are now being blacklisted and shut out, and that corporations don't want their income, shows us that we are in an underclass status, and that we are in a state of emergency, and that we do need people like you who are going to advocate and help organize to get us to pay attention to politics, and why we should fight for our justice claim and reparations, because if we don't now, I don't know in the next 2 or 3 generations if we're going to have the chance, because our population may decrease in size dramatically. I mean, it sounds crazy that I'm saying that, but I can see that it can happen if the riches of our group are being, blacklisted and not allowed to go to certain establishments, and they have the money. What does that mean for the rest of us? Could you answer that?
Yeah, I'm answering. I'll answer it offline, fam. I appreciate it. I appreciate you calling in. But here's the thing. I think what he was talking about was Meek Mill, and I think the place said it was a previous fight or something like that. And somebody will say, well, he shouldn't have had a fight. Well, here's the thing. I have my problems with hip hop, but here's the thing. Rock bands have torn apart everything in America, especially during the height of like rock bands who were really doing their thing. And it wasn't presented that way because they had to pay for it or whatever they damaged, but they got to come back because you needed the money. I think what this shows is that America is so rich. This is what happens when you get a country that's this rich and you have a bottom caste. America has so many millionaires. Vegas don't need your little rap money. They'd rather just not have you there. You might have a fight. They'd rather just not have your element there. So you had all these black capitalists saying, well, America's green. America's green. America's not racist. America just for the money. We just got to get the money. No, you get a millionaire rapper there and you find out, no, it's not just the money. He can afford the room. He can afford the food. He can afford to splurge at the strip clubs, but no, we good. We don't need yours. We don't need your underclass money. I think it would be very interesting to get like a band in there, like a white band in there that also has a history of being a little rough around the edges a little bit, and see like if they were able to come in. And he told him straight. He didn't even tell him like respectfully, like, sir, we're sorry, we apologize, but there was an incident, and he was just like, no, it's my right to tell you to go home. Meek Mill. It's my right to tell you don't get to be here. And you've already had experience with the criminal justice system. Like, I don't understand when we're going to figure out that, like, our money don't spend the same. Our money ain't the same. And nowhere in Vegas, maybe if it was a little hotel somewhere in Illinois or some, I mean, they need your money. And they don't need you. It's Vegas. You know how many multimillionaires and billionaires come there and splurge and have accounts and, you know, spend all day gambling, and they just, hey, this is my account. I have a $500,000 account I keep over there, whatever. They don't need you to know. It's not necessary. You know, and they were threatening him. They were saying, listen, we're going to kick you out of here. You know, you're trespassing. Get your scrawny butt out of here. Nobody playing with you. Get. You know, they tell you, you get up one morning, it's like an animal on your back porch, and you like, oh, he might have rabies. Get. That's how they did it. Watch the video. I'm going to my next call. I'm going to 401. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette.
Hey, what's going on?
This is James. Good. This is James from Rhode Island.
What's going on, James?
Love your show.
Thank you.
I've been watching you since you had the extensions in your hair. So I've watched you a long time.
The locks, not the extensions. They was real. I had to get that.
Oh, they were real. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. But the point I'm calling because I want to talk about the Statue of Liberty. That blew me away, the Statue of Liberty. And it brings me back to when you were profiling that guy, Robert Smith, when he was talking about he was 5th generation college educated, but he was the first one that had access to full citizenship.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just the opposite of him. I'm 5th generation, no education. My mother didn't go to high school. She didn't graduate. Her mother didn't graduate. I'm totally opposite of Robert Smith, and I'm still seeking my citizenship, you know? I got 2 full-time jobs. I make a good living, but I got my nephews, my sister. They're all in their 20s and 30s, like 5 or 6 of them, and they don't have nowhere near type of what you want to call success that I have achieved. And I'm a blue-collar worker, and they're all struggling. In Rhode Island, the average rent is about $900 a month. And they're all on their own trying to survive, you know. I try to help them out when I can. And basically, I'm all for reparations. I'm for the movement. I can't wait. I got everything all set. I'm gonna be there in October.
Oh, great.
I'll be down there in Louisville. Hope to meet Dr. Cosby and everybody.
Oh, you will.
And I got testimony, and that's why I just wanted to call. That's
bro,
my
I appreciate you. I appreciate. Did you have to work today?
This generation.
Did you work today?
Huh?
Did you work today?
I normally listen to you at work. I work for UPS, United Postal Service. I work for UPS.
Okay.
But I normally listen to you when I'm at work. So that's a blue collar job. So a lot of people younger than me, they ain't gonna have the opportunity to have a secure blue collar job.
Yeah, but even with you, bro, you gotta work 2 jobs to be secure. Like, that's 2 jobs. Like, understand something.
Yeah.
And I know you have to do what you have to do. So I'm not saying anything about that. You do what you have to do, and that's a very hard working thing, and you gotta be on top of everything. If you're working 2 jobs, you gotta be on top of your health, everything. Because if you off on 1 job, you off for 2. But understand your quality of life is impacted. You don't have as much free time. You know what I mean? You don't have as much rest time. There's stuff that you can't do. There's stuff that you can't even watch because you be tired. Like, I don't even think people understand how America, in terms of what it's done to us, not even just monetarily in terms of what we can pay for, but what we don't get to enjoy in this life because we don't have wealth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I love watching Tony too. Because watching Tony show, he made me realize a lot of my relationships failed. I was married for 10 years and got a divorce, and part of that because I was just trying to survive. And my wife didn't understand that, and part of it was my fault, probably working too much and not wanting to take those vacations when she wanted to take those vacations.
Well, you can't afford them.
She took a lot of vacations.
Listen, hold on. If you're working 2 jobs, you can't afford a vacation. I'm not trying to say anything bad about her. This is a ADOS thing. It's not a her thing. It's an ADOS thing. Working 2 jobs means like what? Like, you're gonna work 2 jobs to take a vacation. Like, understand, you don't, 2 jobs means that I don't make enough for life. Like I can't make enough for one. So you taking that, it's kind of like driving Uber to go out to eat. So you're going to spend like 4 hours in a car or 2 hours in a car or however much, but probably 4 because you got to take out the gas and the car, the wear and tear on the car. So you're spending this money to go 4 hours of your life to go have a meal. So you're going to spend how many hours of your life work to go here? And then you can't really enjoy. Listen, let me just say this. This is me. I'm going off on a rant. But like if you're going on vacation and you have to count, you shouldn't be on vacation. Vacations aren't for people who have to count. And that's why, see, you can't even really enjoy yourself if you like, well, it's $50 for the meal. And then I got to go here. Yo, I think we're going to have enough. I think if I carry the 1, divide the 2, I think we good. No, that's stressful. That's stress.
Yeah,
Vacation.
you're dead on. Because on vacation, I just think we can't spend too much because we got car payments when we get back. Can't spend too much because we got this when we get back. You know?
And that's stressful. That's stressful. Why are you on vacation? I might as well be at home watching Netflix. Because I'm stressed. If I can't go, if you can't go, and again, have you ever seen, like, if you go out somewhere, if you ever go and you see, white people ain't, when you see them on vacation, they ain't stressing. They ain't even, I've seen white people sign the bill and barely look at it. What was it? I didn't, like, no, when you're doing that, that is stress. You don't get to be on vacation because you don't have the money for vacation because you always thinking and you counting at the end of the day. Well, no, you can't have that. Like, if you got kids, I mean, it's just too much. It's too stressful. I want to go home. You know, that's just an aside, fam, but I just wanted to say that part. Like, if you got to count, vacation ain't for people who counting. And that means we can't enjoy American life because America got some wonderful vacations just in this country. You ain't even got to leave the country. America got beaches. America got mountains. America got desert. America got some wonderful vacations if you can afford them. They made us not be able to afford to travel in our country.
It's true.
So.
And you're not tired when you go on vacation. But thanks again, Yvette. I
love
your show. I don't get the call, so thanks for taking my call.
No problem. I appreciate it.
Call and look forward to seeing the fam in October.
Appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you in October, too. Yeah, I don't think people understand that vacation is a carefree time. It's supposed to be a carefree time. We out here just loosey-goosey. Yeah, bring me the salad. Bring me the chicken. What they got over there? Oh, they got nuggets. Oh, I want some of them, too. Oh, what else? What you got over there? I want some of that too. I'm trying everything. I'm on vacation. We can't do that. We be counting. Well, maybe we skip breakfast. Let's go to lunch. Well, on second thought, we can't do lunch and go out tonight. So maybe we do dinner and we. No, that's stressful. And see, the thing is because ADOS, we deal with other ADOS, which is we're a community. That's fine, but we don't ever see the other side of it. We don't even really understand how stressful that is. We don't really get it because that's our whole life is being stressful. We don't understand that our whole life is stressing us out. Anyway, I'm going to my next call. I'm going to 818-818. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Happy Memorial Day.
Hey, happy Memorial Day, you too.
This is Dana, ADOS, Los Angeles.
Okay.
Oh, I just want to make sure you heard me. I'm sorry. I had romanticized the idea of the Statue of Liberty mostly in 1986 from seeing the movie Ghostbusters. After seeing the Statue of Liberty in that movie, I did a little research and I found that the Statue of Liberty was modeled from a slave, and that made me want to, visit New York and see the Statue of Liberty and go to Ellis Island and all of that. And when I got there, and I was there probably for 5 hours looking at all the exhibits, finding out about all the different cultures, I found out that the Statue of Liberty and all that it's supposed to mean was hijacked. It was hijacked by immigrants because all of those immigrants that were discussed in all the exhibits were, they had become wealthy from America, and they weren't living impoverished life like the blacks were. Now, they did have an exhibit on slavery and, ADOS, that's what I'm calling it, but it wasn't explained in the way that the other cultures, the Armenians, the Japanese, with the internment camps, the Jews, and the Holocaust and all of that. And I felt at that time that I had romanticized the idea of immigrant life where we have always upheld them and they're the same as us and they look like us. I wanted to say that, but I also wanted to speak to what one of the previous callers talked about, and he talked about the actors and, Nigerians and Africans saying they're Brits. And when I was a subscriber to Essence Magazine, I did a little research about why were these Brits coming to America and taking up these acting roles, and I found out it's because they can't make it as an actor in Britain or London or wherever in England. They're not desired. They're not wanted, so they come to America and they have these roles, and these black filmmakers, mainly ADOS, are giving them these roles, and you have David Oyelowo playing Martin Luther King, you have Idris Elba playing everybody from, Avenger movies to all these other movies. And the only reason he was given a BBC production, a TV series, Luther, is because of his success in America. And, they wanted some of that success. So a few years ago when the movie Get Out came out, people were losing their minds because Samuel Jackson was like, where are the African-American actors in that role? That lead role should have gone to an African-American actor, and people were going crazy. And, John Boyega came out, and that actor specifically in the movie Get Out came out, and they were just so upset. But we need to see the legacies of Denzel Washington, of Wesley Snipes, of Lawrence Fishburne, of Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, because
that needs to continue.
There's a great, and to this day, I won't see a movie if it has Boyega in it. Like, even if I think it's a good movie, if it has Boyega in it, I won't see it. Like, I boycott him. I don't care. And not because he disagreed, but because he was very disrespectful to Samuel L. Jackson in terms of like there's a way if you want to debate this, there's a way to have this conversation. But Samuel L. Jackson paved the way for you to be here. You don't talk to him like he's your little homeboy, and you're not that good at what you do anyway. So but the point of the matter is like the reason that people say, well, why do you all have to get the roles? Well, because we fought for the roles. See, the thing is, there's a great article at The Guardian about what you're saying is true. Like British actors complaining, Nigerian actors or whatever, you're not Brits, but whatever, complaining about like not getting roles in London, not getting roles in UK, whatever. And it's like, yeah, but you're supposed to fight. Like, you don't just be like, well, I don't get a role of him, I'll come to America and see what I can find. No, the reason that we started getting roles here is because ADOS fought. You gotta fight your fight in London. You don't just run. Like, y'all are some runners, man. You run from like, well, this country that I'm in, this country isn't good. I'm gonna run over here to London. Well, London is giving me the acting roles I want, so I'm gonna run to America. At a certain point, you gotta stop running. Like, why don't we call them on that? Why do you run so much? Where you going? Like, you gotta stay and fight somewhere. You can't run your whole life. That's part of your problem. I'm gonna let you finish, Carl. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem, Yvette. I'm just happy to talk with you. I'm usually at workout, and I catch the end of your show and then the replay the next day. What I wanted to say, another previous caller talked about, LA, and there are homeless issue that's going on all across the country, and I'm also in recruiting for my employment, is that none of the recruiters or people that give jobs look like us. And so they don't take us. Either there are people like me that are in recruitment that help others, ADOS, or ones that look like us, or they ladder behind us, or they're of another, stature, they're immigrants, and not only bilingual, they use that as kind of like a cop-out to not hire ADOS.
Yeah, I get it.
So they don't look like you. So that's why those, that's why there's so many people just, they're just, what do you guys use the term? It's something, I'm not going to go into it, but what I wanted to say that also is to just thank you, and Tone.
Thank you.
I don't think before you guys, both of you came out and started really talking about the disparities for ADOS, that we really understood what is going on in this country, how this whole country of people of whatever immigrants, whatever white culture, whatever immigrant culture, are living on the failures of blacks. Anywhere from the not being given jobs, about the housing in the houses being made of certain materials that will not withstand a hurricane. I mean, that information about every small town in this country and how they're living off the failure of blacks and the disparity in the stops being made for the men and them having to pay these ridiculous amounts of money for tickets just for Philando Castile himself. And I know the abuse you take, and I believe a lot of the abuse is pointed at you, Yvette, because you're a woman. I mean, it's ridiculous how some of these people talk to you or about you.
Well, yeah, and I think
it. I just want to know.
I'm happy
that we support you.
Thank you,
and that we're here for you. I made all my arrangements for Kentucky in March.
Okay.
I will be there.
March.
I'm even staying an extra day to strategize with those that want to stay and strategize. So, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'd be really in trouble with some of the hoteps if this was of actual black patriarchy, because they just be gone. They just be making stuff up. I think it's a cover for another nefarious agenda. Child, hush. Anyway, let's keep the phones going. I'm going to 804. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes, I'm Ben from Central Virginia. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I guess I've been trying to do in my own small way a little advocacy on the ADOS front among people that I know. Okay. And, it seems to me that sometimes it just doesn't get through. And it tends to be a little frustrating. I think a lot of us have this idea that we have to look out for everyone with our politics.
Okay.
We have to somehow save the nation from Donald Trump and go out there and vote for someone that's a Democrat and, not get anything in return for our vote. Now, I heard you say some things about, things being a fantasy or whatever have you, but at times I'm wondering, is our citizenship actually a fantasy? Is it, on paperwork, it's absolutely, on paper, this is what it's supposed to be. But in practicum, it really doesn't play out that way. And you've shown this over and over again on your show. That, history does not bear that we actually have citizenship. So is it equally a fantasy for us to I know we have to fight. Just being ADOS in America, fighting's just a part of the game. It's just for survival's sake. But are we in some way are we being aspirational in our thinking?
My short
in hopes that the government is always oppressed suddenly. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think my short answer to you is no. We're not being aspirational in that. Okay. What happens is, especially in capitalist societies, there are hierarchies, right? And even, and there are these, and we're at the bottom of the totem pole. And the bottom of the totem pole, and I'm not validating the system the way it's set up. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the bottom of the totem pole eats the failure. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not citizens. It means that we're the bottom of the totem pole. The way they have capitalism set up, somebody's gonna eat this failure. Somebody's gonna eat this failure, and they have it set up. Well, that's y'all. Y'all are the designated garbage disposals, right? So, it's not a fantasy that we are citizens. The thing is that we have not fought for full citizenship. Like, we have not continued to fight. We have fought, but the thing is, it has to be a relentless, repositioning of us. And everybody be like, well, no, you got to reposition everybody on the totem pole. No, I don't. That's not my responsibility. And everybody ain't trying to reposition me on the totem pole. It's not a fantasy. And you have seen these games, right? So I'm sitting in a room right now, we had slavery and the slaves, and they do re-enslave us in some way every generation. But even with that, I'm sitting in a room with a bunch of technology, right? And I could imagine if I grabbed a slave from back in the day and brought him and put him right here, that he would be like, wow. You know what I mean? Or she. And if I go to an African country, like there was a great article that I put up on Twitter about the writer, I can't remember her name, but it wrote about Lagos and how they have to close the gates, you know, at 9 o'clock in neighborhoods for robbers and all this kind of stuff. I don't think you want any of that. You know, this is real. We have citizenship. We just don't have the wealth that comes with it. And you need that. You need that to exercise your freedom. So, you know, that's what has to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what has to happen, what needs to happen. I agree with it. But are those that the groups that have always wanted us to eat the failure, and this us eating the failure has worked so well for them. Are they suddenly going to not? Are they suddenly going to change it? You know, I guess change it, have a change of heart.
Well, it's not about. Well, it's not about having a change of heart.
Or change of legislation, or change of whatever.
But like,
whatever change, whatever.
But here's the thing.
You know, I don't want to speak aspirationally my own self, but you know, are they suddenly going to make
No. Nothing. No, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I hate when people do this. And I'm not trying to hold you accountable for this. But let me just finish. I think slavery worked really good for them too. But we had a war and it's ended, right? I think you know, people always ask, well, what if? Like, are they going to do this? They're not going to do anything if we just chill out and play Xbox and watch Netflix. Part of the reason you can't really answer the question is because we haven't done enough. Like, I'm talking about modern history. I'm not talking about King's Day. I'm talking about, like, we haven't done enough to, like, push the envelope and say you got to do this. And we haven't been exclusionary. We haven't said that this is just about us. I can't tell you. None of us have a crystal ball in terms of how this ends, in terms of how this works. But I can tell you, if we don't do this, our kids are gonna, like Antonio said, starve out. Like, you have to do it. Like, even it's like going into, it's not a battle, it's not a war, it's not a violent thing. This is not, we preach political, we talk about the power of politics on this podcast. But I use the analogy of going to battle for a specific reason. When you go to battle, you don't ask your general, well, what if they use the bayonets? Well, what if they drop? Well, what if they decide to go around this way? Well, do you think we're gonna win? You just say, listen, I'm gonna put my stuff on and I'm going out there because I got a family at home and I need to win this. You just have to do the work. Like, and we've done the work. The fact that we're still here and we're having this conversation lets me know that we've done work, because we ain't even supposed to be here. So, like, they don't even, like, the people who wanted us to be slaves, they would prefer that we not be here, or that they could have expatriated us somewhere to an African country and we'd all be gone. Like, the fact that we're still here is a testament to the fact that we can win this. But the question I have in terms of ADOS is whether we have the collective will to win this. Like, understand that we're having a reparations conversation solely because of ADOS. And the work that ADOS has done. ADOS is nowhere near the majority. Like, this group, like this Breaking Brown Tone Talks group is nowhere near the majority of black people in America. But this small group has caused the conversation. Imagine what would happen if the majority of ADOS woke up. There would be no stopping us. The problem I have is whether or not we're going to wake up. In mass.
In mass, it's always, I guess there's always a small group that does, small organized group that does a lot of the heavy lifting early on, and it just kind of reverberates from that small group. But I guess it's not. I don't want to sound like a downer or anything like that, but it just seems like it's I know the work has to be done. My Lord, I know that it does, and I believe in it wholeheartedly.
All right, well, finish it up for me, Colin.
I'm sorry, but it just seems a little. It just seems a little uphill. I don't know if you ever feel like that.
But so what? Like, so what if it's uphill? I don't. What y'all want, downhill? Nobody ever promised you downhill. Like, no. Nobody ever promised you easy. And I don't want to be morbid, but you're on this planet like 100 years or less usually. So, like, do what you got to do. Like, you're not even here a long time to be like, it's like you don't have a 1,000-year life. Like, do what you got to do. Make your time here count. I don't know what to tell everybody. Like, everybody wants an easy road. I want to thank you for calling in, but like everybody wants like this, like, well, if you could, it's almost as if like, and I understand what he's saying, but it's almost as if people say, well, if you can promise me this is gonna work out, I'll fight. Can't nobody promise you that in the fight that this gonna work out, or it's gonna work out while you're here. Not that it's not gonna work out, but it's gonna work out like while you're here. Like, you could be, it might work out for your kids or your grandkids or your niece or your nephew. It might not. You might be gone. Like, you fight the fight. Like, one of the sure ways to like lose a fight is to go into the fight worried about whether or not you're gonna get hurt. You gotta flow. Everybody who does, if you fight, you gotta just flow with it, and you gotta fight instinctually. You gotta have strategy, and you gotta, in terms of fisticuffs, you can't go in and be like, well, what did this happen? Well, what, you gotta have your moves together. Yeah, if you practice or you do combat, but you can't sit there and be like, now tell me again, if he kicked my shin and I go left and he come back up, do I hit with the punch, or do I go up with the elbow, or do I come round like that? No, you get in there, you know it. And once you get punched up a bit, you'll figure it out and you'll come back bloody. I'm using it as an example, but it's just, you just got to get in there. Like, all this what ifs is just not how it works. You just know that this is the battle that has to be had, and the battle has to be had here. I'm going to 936. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? Hello, 936. Are you there? Turn your background down. Hello.
Yvette, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm all right. I'm not going to take up much time. This is Ray. I'm calling from Houston.
Hey, Ray.
I just want to say I really appreciate the conversation that Tone Talks has allowed us to have as ADOS. I mean, to shape us in the form of a tribe and to come 720 degrees with the information that you're coming with, it's really a blessing, man. It's got to be the ancestors that work. I mean, I know that, you don't get enough appreciation for the energy and effort that you put into it, but we really need it. And if it wasn't for you, a lot of us would never understand the level of deception that has been played on us by way of all of the things that's been going on. So, to have somebody like you who has been familiar with the political arena and to come to us and speak on the level of, like somebody that we grew up with, because that's how I see it. You talk to us in plain, simple language, and it's something that we can understand, and it's just like the people that we grew up with and went to school with. So I really do appreciate you for that.
Because I am who you grew up with. That's why.
Keep going, man. Regardless of all of the other opposition that's going on, the reason why we get that opposition is because it's working. So you and Tone Talks, y'all stay focused. Keep hammering the message. We thank you. There's a lot of us out here that's, not being seen, but we are the multipliers, the force multipliers. So keep going. And y'all got to find a way to be able to stream that Kentucky event, because we weren't able to get tickets, and we really want to be able to be a participation in it.
Okay, I appreciate it. A lot of people are saying that. We'll see. I appreciate it, fam. I appreciate the love. But yeah, I thank you, fam. I think when you come from the community, that's what people see. Like, you talk to like you one of us, because you one of us. If you from Georgia, you know I sound like you. Anyway, let me go to the next caller. Thank you, caller. I really appreciate that, though. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. It does. Kind words are hard to come by sometimes. 510, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes. What's going on, Yvette?
Not much.
Been appreciating listening to you all there. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
And what a great education that you're giving us, or a refresher on the Statue of Liberty. I appreciate that. I wanted to acknowledge my great, that's 5 great grandfather.
who on this Memorial Day, not on this Memorial Day, I want to acknowledge him on this Memorial Day because he was lost in the Civil War. He was aboard of the ship. You can look this up, the USS Yvette. He was a 65-year-old seaman, and that ship was patrolling, I guess, in the Panama area.
Okay.
But the ship was lost at sea, never to be found, in 1861, June of 1860, that is. And just want to acknowledge that my great-great-great-great-grandfather was there, and he fought. And I was just, like you said, we've been in every war.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm talking about ADOS. And it's very important that we are recognized on this day. Like it really has a meaning for us.
Yeah.
You know, it's about our fight in this country, and you know what it means to us. We don't need to repatriate anywhere else other than where we've established that. You know, our bones are buried there.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But I just wanted to thank you, and I still wanted to ask you this question. Do you believe that it is a hindrance or a help to us of the one-drop rule that is what is established for, it is the lowest bar establishing African or black people. I don't even the title of black people.
I think Go
ahead.
See, the thing is, like, I don't even know how much that matters anymore. Like, see, and I agree with you. It was a way to make us a bottom caste by saying that, like, you can't even deal with these people because it's not like we're gonna let you do whatever. But like, that's not the case. That's not what's happening anymore. Like, you can access whiteness and not be white now. Like, that's what's happening, and we see that with a lot of different people, with a lot of different groups, that you can access whiteness and not be white. You can have melanin, you can be from India, wherever, a bunch of different places, and you can access it and not be white. So I think we've moved past that in a way that is very interesting. But I think we're going to have to, in terms of reparations, tie a very, very, like we've talked about, a very specific knot to make sure that we knock certain people out of it. Because there's a way to be like, oh, I come from whatever, but you haven't really claimed that in a while. You haven't bared the burden of it. It's kind of like what Elizabeth Warren did with the Native Americans, like claim that on something. I saw a paper where she kind of claimed that, and then like, but you don't bear the burden of like, you don't bear the cost of like being Native American. And so this is for people who have bore the cost. So I think that's kind of what we're looking to. I don't know if anybody does that anymore in terms of one drop. I think that's the kind of antiquated notion, and I think we have to bring it up in terms of complexity. But I appreciate it, and I thank you for calling in. I appreciate that. We're gonna try to get a couple more calls in here before we wrap it up. I'm going to 919. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
How you doing, Yvette? This is Vanessa calling from North Carolina. This is my second time calling and joining your show.
Okay, what's on your mind?
Kind of piggyback on the previous caller. He seemed a little down, need to be uplifted about the ADOS movement. And I just want to say, the reason why there's becoming an issue with the ADOS because you have finally the black community that's really listening to what's going on. They're seeing the plight in their community. They're moving away of romanticizing Beyonce, Jay-Z, and Puff Daddy, and realizing that's not their life. You know, their children, school systems are failing them. They have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to get ahead. And there's a lot of people are finally waking up and seeing the reality of their life and not using the excuse that, oh, white people are poor too. Their poorness is not the same as our community being poor. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's going on right now.
Yeah, and I think we
want a lot of posts.
But I think we all do it. I think, like, I don't think it's a gender thing. I think we all do that. I think as a community, I think you have black people want to be Jay-Z and women want to be Beyonce and want to be like, I travel and I go to brunch, and men want to be like, well, I'm finna get this money and I'm finna go watch a video about black capital. And I think there's this awakening. My only problem is that I wonder if the awakening is too slow. Like, I need the awakening to happen a little. I would like it to be happening fast. It's happening and it is moving stuff. But I don't like I mean, like even the man who called in, I understand what he was saying, but the point of the matter is, if you have family, you have kids, you don't get not to fight. You don't even get to ask the question. Well, should I? Should I or shouldn't I? Maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should. Is it gonna work? Is it not gonna work? Or we been like you don't get to have this theoretical conversation.
Well, let me be completely honest with you. I was never political. I was one of those black folks that was like, I just don't like politics. But when I started having children, and I actually started seeing how it's affecting not just my children, but generations of black children that look like my children, like my child, it was a wake-up call. I had my wake-up black card. Woken up. And I realized that, and I think that's what's going on. Even at my job, you know, on my lunch break, I had some of my coworkers talk about ADOS. And I was like, you know about ADOS? And it's like, yeah, I listen to Yvette and John Mondays and and I was like, really, it was something in code. You think we was like runaway slaves, whispering.
I listen to it. I listen to it. Don't tell nobody.
What's going on? I don't know if that was a good thing, but that's what we was doing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I just want to say the effect of your show. It's reaching a lot of people, and not to get feel neglected, not to feel defeated. That's the reason why Biden numbers are dropping. That's the reason why Bernie Sanders now he wants to investigate or study reparations. When at first he didn't even know what that meant. Educated man didn't know what I mean. It's becoming an issue.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say. But I love your show.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think it is picking up. And I don't want to say that I have. Listen, fam. Like, listen. Understand. I have the patience of Job. It's not a problem for me necessarily that it's slow. But I understand. One of the things that I understand about life is that life don't care. And so the political arena is what it is. It don't care. Like, and so I'm wondering. I want to be in a space because when you talk about how wealth is and you talk about redistribution, like sometimes you only get a chance like every generation. So, you know, the New Deal or whatever and all that stuff. And so now there's going to be a time to kind of reset and reconfigure America. If that goes to some kind of class kinds of politics, we still get shut out if we haven't galvanized enough ADOS. And if the energy over here with the class-based politics and the Bernie and all that wins, we lose out for another generation. So when I say, you know, I'm concerned that it's slow, it's not because I'm in a rush. I'm a concern because I'm always kind of watching the political landscape and what that's going to mean in terms of our configuration. And I don't want us to lose out in terms of nobody's going to give us a bunch of class-based politics and a reparations program. Though I don't think, and the people on the left, haven't even talked about trying to wrap reparations into what they're doing. So that's my concern when I talk about slow. I'm talking about like, yeah, it bothers me. Like, I really wish we could get more people. I'm not talking about a majority. I just have too much. It's just two people who are just kind of pushing back. And then you got all these people online, everybody crazy and everybody. And they just don't make a lot of sense. I'm going to the next call. I'm going to 323. 323, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
This is a long guy.
Hey, what's going on?
Hello?
I'm here.
Well, hey, Yvette, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm just happy to finally hear people. There's a collective consciousness about what was talked about at my dinner table for my whole life.
Okay.
So I am just happy to not feel like an alien.
We happy with you.
And absolutely. And the one thing that I would like to say on this Memorial Day is that ADOS, American Descendants of Chattel Slavery, must fall in love with the idea of being American. I have been saying I'm American my whole life. So how are you American? Why you want to be American? To have fights with people, got cussed out. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I have been raised with a double consciousness. I was raised in the West African spiritual practice and culture.
Okay.
At the same time, my family politics were steeped in blackness.
Okay.
So I understand
the need for people to feel like they're African. But I also understand, more than anything, the need to be American. And to be proud to be American.
And understand something. Understand something. I'm just going to interrupt you 1 second, fam. Being proud to be an American doesn't mean you're proud of everything this country has done. I think people get confused.
Absolutely not. No. You cannot get confused. And one thing that Black folks need to understand is all the hoodoo, the voodoo, and the juju that white folks use against Black folks to make you not even want to fight and want to get up to say, no matter how hard this is, I may not never see a dime or a dollar. I may never see reparations, but I'm still going to fight you to my last breath. And see, I can get a little grimy. You understand what I'm saying? I got a college education. I don't even talk about it. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you knew how much money I made an hour, it don't even make no sense. So I like the way I think you can speed this along is if you're able to talk in levels where other people can understand. Now, I don't want to be explicit, but there's a designer out there that has these bags and these clothes, and it says, F you, pay me. That's where I come from.
Oh.
I don't care what you're talking about. Pay me, pay the lady, give me my money. Now, whether I see it today or whether I see it 20 years, I don't care how hard it is. Let's not give up before we start. Let's keep it going. Hook or crook, as my mama say.
Hook or crook, that's what we say too. Thank you, Carla. I appreciate you. Hook or crook. We say that too. You have a good night. Thank you for calling in. I think you know you have to give up on the option of like not fighting. Like your positionality demands that this is your political battle. Like there's nothing else. Like you can't. That's part of the problem is that people think they have options. I appreciate the caller because that's what it is. You understand that you don't have no options, and your life shows you that you don't have options. Like it's not a matter of just like, well, you're living a really nice life and you want me to really fight for more, Yvette, but I'm good. I have 200 in the bank, 200,000, and that's not, it's not the same as somebody who has $1 million, but I have a stable life. Like, no, that's not our life. Like when you have the lives that we live and we know what the data says, you just gotta fight. That's just kind of what it is. I am going to 404. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, how you doing? This is Michael from Atlanta.
What's going on, Mike?
Hey, I'm just calling. First, I want to give a shout-out. We had a ADOS Atlanta meeting here last Saturday, and for all those people that showed up, I want to give a shout-out. Some great conversation that occurred there in Atlanta. But on this Memorial Day, I'm a fourth-generation military veteran. My great-grandfather, my grandfather. My dad didn't actually serve, but I had uncles that served in Vietnam from World War I all the way to the Gulf War and to these present conflicts that the United States has, participated in. But what I want to say is that this is a time for us to enlist. We should be enlisting as many ADOS as possible to join into this reparations battle.
Oh, okay.
So, for those out there, on Memorial Day, go out and enlist people to be a part of it. Give them the information. A previous caller back, that individual is kind of like the kind of guy you talk to. He want to have an intellectual conversation with you. You want to just give him the data, and if he wants to have an intellectual conversation, because this is Memorial Day, and I'm saying enlist, the answer is yes or no. It's not a back and forth. So you want to be a part of it, you don't want to be a part of it. But your life will tell you that you need to be a part of it.
Exactly.
And you just drop it on them and you leave it where it is.
Yeah,
so,
don't fight. Don't get punched on. Yeah, you got to drop it where it is. If they ain't whatever, then but you got to know what that means about that person. Like you don't get to tell me. See, the other half of that is you don't get to tell me I don't want to fight for reparations. But then when the consequence of being black falls in your lap, and oh man, I got a ticket. It's $150. I ain't got it. I don't got it either. Because I can't be your reparations. We got to fight for this together. Like I just can't keep being your reparations. I understand being a friend, but we got to be on the same page politically. People be wanting you to be their reparations, but when the cost of blackness falls on them individually, they want to come to you. But when the cost of blackness falls on us collectively, you don't want to deal with it. So no, we have to deal with this big thing together. I just can't keep bailing you out. A lot of people just be bailing up people out. Well, I had to give them 20, and then I had to buy the turkey. Well, I had to buy the macaroni and cheese again. I can't. No. But then when you ask them, hey, you want to do this thing? You know, we're gonna go over here to the town hall. Or, you know, just tweet your what you call it. You know, I saw your congressperson said something. Now I don't get involved in politics. Well, I don't get involved in making deposits into your bank account either. I'll let you finish your call. I'm sorry.
And just one last thing, you know, Tone did a video on that Meek Mill incident that happened in Las Vegas, and I just have a different take on it. I think that, you know, that hotel was basically looking at Meek Mill and saying, I know you don't have any money. For some reason, we believe that those people actually have some type of wealth, whereas they are used to dealing with those rappers that come in and they're running out on their bill or they're not paying the bill, and they know they don't have no money. So I think it's more or less that I know they are, you know, catering to the white wealth, but I also believe they know that when these people come in, they ain't coming in with no money. And we just believe that they do have money because they on TV.
All right, Carl, I want to thank you for that call. He's saying that they don't really got the money that they be saying they got. They just be fronting. They be on what the kids call it, fronting for the gram. They be out on Instagram doing all kinds of stuff. And I don't know what they got. They say he had a fight. I saw something like a previous fight or something. But they don't ever have the money you think they got. But I think in terms of, like, you know, he's supposed to be one of the big ones though. Ain't he? Meek Mill, ain't he up there? He hit the new one, the song with Drake, where the thing start off with what? What's the little thing that would start out with they holler? You know, we're in here, whatever. What that little song? Y'all can tell me in the chat. Anyway, I'm going to my last call. I'm going to 909. 909, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Anthony from San Bernardino. Thank you for picking up the call.
Hey, Anthony, what's going on?
Hey, I had kind of like a point I wanted to say, but I had a question for you. I was wondering, is it possible for you to actually write a book one of these days?
Oh, so I one of these days is a very good way to put it.
Well, because I really believe that, you know, because I woke up this morning and I was like, man, I hope I get to go talk to Yvette today. Because I really wanted to talk about something I heard on, it was like a radio show. It was like I think it was called NPR or something, where a guy was talking about how there's a difference between confidence and competence. And I think a lot of times people don't understand how important it is to be competent. And if you were to write a book and you would like outline certain things that we should really be aware of as ADOS, so we know exactly what we're talking about, why we're bringing up the subject, it's hard to recruit anybody if we don't know what we're talking about. And I see a lot of people talking, but they're not saying anything.
Well, you know what I wish?
Just a lot of words.
The only thing I wish I would have done and I had done, I wish at some point I had annotated. And it's funny, Alexander pointed this out to me. I wish I had annotated the shows so I could put people in terms of what was in what show to where they could find it. Because a lot of stuff is available. People just don't know which show that it's necessarily in. So I think we've done a lot of that. I just think that people don't know, like, exactly which show do I find that. And I wish that's one thing. If I had time, you know, when I do have time, that's one thing I would like to go back and do is listen to the shows and annotate them. But that's not going to be anytime soon.
Well, it's funny. I'm sorry, because it's funny. I listen to your show. Sometimes I have to go back and rehear it over again to kind of teach myself of some of the points that's been going through. Because, you know, some of the stuff just goes right over my head. But as long as I can have a sufficient amount of knowledge of what's being talked about, where I stand as an American citizen or ADOS citizen, I need to understand exactly who am I speaking to, and necessarily, we talked before about not playing Crayola, understanding that, you know, I love the point that you put up as far as the Statue of Liberty being a symbol of talking about slavery, and how you brought up certain different issues and different points that it was just so much in this one show. I just wish that there was an outline or a trace, or if you can get Zoe or somebody to help you write a book and you could put some of the points of tones, it was demonstrations in there or something like that,
I mean, that would be no, I appreciate it, but that would be after. Like, nothing is gonna happen. Nothing. I won't even consider doing anything until after this election. Like, because I think the election is like tantamount for me right now. So after the election, I think I can have some considerations in terms of what comes next, but not until after this election, because I'm really trying to get something before that.
Yeah, I hate to be so now about it, but I would love to see it ASAP, way before the elections and stuff, because there's no guaranteed time that you're gonna or anything. And I'm not trying to be a fatalist. I just wanted to get some of the points off of your head, because you have so much important information that needs to be put out there, and we need to have that out there as a reference point to talk about Dr. Kevin Cosby, to talk about what Tone Talks about. Everything that you come across with is so brilliant.
I appreciate it, fam.
Hello?
I appreciate it, fam. I'm gonna let you go because we're at the 2 hour mark, but it's out here. Like, it's out here. It's out here.
Okay. All right.
But no problem. You take care. You have a good one. I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting. I want to apologize to everybody that I didn't get to tonight. I apologize. As usual, I never get to all the calls, and I hate that. But it's just the nature of what happens, I suppose. Fam. Thank you all for spending part of your finish your libation. You gotta go to work or whatever. I know. I appreciate everybody for spending part of your Memorial Day over here and having the conversation that you're having over here. This is a gathering place. That's what it is. That's who we are. It's a gathering of us having this conversation, and I appreciate the conversation every time we have the conversation. We're gonna talk soon about what the next book is going to be. Please, before you leave, family, and in your Memorial Day, we had more people here than I thought. I really thought people were gonna just like not show. You haven't had some ribs, some cake, a potato salad. You might not, but y'all came back from the cookout and you got in. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. And please hit the bell too before you go. Hit the like, hit the bell. If you haven't hit the bell, please hit subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to brown.com as well. And fam, we will have the conversation again like we always do every Monday and Wednesday. I'll be late, but every Monday and Wednesday we had a conversation at 9:40-ish. So I will see you back then. Until then, family, be safe. Take care of yourself. Do some self-care. Don't let these people online get to you, make you upset, mad, malnourished, or whatever else. And we'll have a conversation again soon. All right, fam. Bye. right.